Welcome to the Occult Unmasked. I am John Razimus. In this episode, I will be sharing a personal story about a ghost encounter that I have had. I've had many. You could put this audio through a lie detector program for all I care, because I've told all my friends and family, they know about it. And if they don't know about it, they're not very close friends. I see ghosts? No, I do not see ghosts. I'm not like the kid from The Sixth Sense. I would say seeing ghosts with your regular eyes, or even your spirit eyes, astral third eye, or whatever, would be extremely rare. I believe it's possible, and I believe some people probably maybe have that, but I do not. So I don't see ghosts with my eyeballs, but I have seen the effects of invisible entities. And I suppose now it's a time for... I'm going to save this ghost story for the end of this episode, to get you to watch it to the end. I did a book review in the last episode, and the video camera turned off by itself for some unknown reason. So now I'm just going to do a review of every book I've read in the past 2, 3, 4 weeks. In a way, this episode will be sort of like the occult reading rainbow. The Skeleton Key of Solomon, Unlocking the Secret Reflections of Sigils and Vives, by the pseudonym known as Professor Oddfellow. I did read the entire book. It took about 10 minutes to read the entire book. Very short read. But if you want it for reference purposes, it is decent for reference purposes. But like I said in the last episode, he says, oh, this Vive looks similar to this sigil. I wonder why. He tries to set himself up for a thesis, but it's not a thesis. He doesn't have an opinion. He leaves it... Many arguments could be made why the Vives and the sigils look similar. No one will ever know why. He leaves it very open-ended. I could, off the top of my head, come up with 10 reasons why they look similar. Perhaps culturally, the people in Europe borrowed these African designs. Perhaps the people in Haiti borrowed some African designs, who borrowed some Germanic designs. Perhaps the spirits involved in these ceremonies communicated through a spirit channel, spirit telephone system, spirit world internet, and they're the actual sigils for the spirits. Those are just off the top of my head examples of what he could have put in here as, here are some examples of why maybe, but no, he just cuts it off and it's very short. So, The Skeleton Key of Solomon, 1 skull out of 5 skulls. I do not recommend this book unless you want to have it for reference purposes. Here is another book I read thoroughly all the way through, Sorcery and Religion in Ancient Scandinavia, by Varg Vikernes. And Varg is a heavy metal death rocker from Norway or something like that. The book is not easy to get through. It reads like an encyclopedia. Very just technical, and clearly Varg does not believe in any sorcery or any mythology about any of his ancestors. He was just interested in it enough to write a book about it. There are some interesting facts, so for factual reasons, and he does give his opinions, and he prefaces that saying, so these are my opinions. But it was kind of disappointing that he didn't believe in magic, especially when he has some really cool runes, and you're like, oh, he's going to talk about runes and seeing the future with runes and whatnot. And he doesn't believe in any of that. He says it's all superstitions they used to believe in. And then he just lists it off. From the perspective of a non-occultist who reads these sorcery and mythology books for education, but also for entertainment, it wasn't very entertaining at all. But at least it had more content than some books do, and it had a lot of facts. I'm going to give it 2 skulls out of 5 skulls. 2 skulls. Here is the deluxe edition of this book. And the deluxe edition is for sale. But I do like it for reference purposes enough to keep this. I'm going to keep this as my personal copy. Never going to sell it. But this is the deluxe edition, which comes with a cool slipcover. So let's go on to the next book. 7 Spheres by Rufus Opus. 7 Spheres is all about astrological summoning of spirits, astronomy related, summoning of the spirit of Jupiter, the spirit of Mercury, the lunar spirit, spirit of Saturn, la 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 la. There's 7 of them, 7 spheres, and you ascend through the 7 spheres and get information, and are supposedly enlightened at the end. But I wasn't enlightened at the end. I don't know. I just didn't dig this book. I wasn't into it. And I'm going to say the first half was the guy's blog. Very hard to get through his blog. Not a fan of his writing style. Not a fan of the way he places his words. Very awkward reading the first half of the book. The second half are simply the templates of what to do to call down one of the 7 spirits on what day, week, and month. If you believe in astrology and astrological spirits, guides, and whatnot, you might like this book. But from the perspective of a non-occultist like me, who just reads these for informational and educational and entertainment reasons, I was not entertained whatsoever. And I give this 1 skull out of 5 skulls. 1 skull. Next book is Taoism, The Road to Immortality by John Blofeld. And I know I already talked about this in a previous episode, but I like this book a lot. I'm going to keep it in my personal collection. There are just a lot of facts that I've never heard of. It's a very good summary of the mythology of immortals in China. The Taoist, monk-like hermit immortals who are supposedly immortal or supposedly have a secret to the key to immortality. And one of those secrets in the book is stalagmites and stalactites and cave walls and just the natural calcium deposits in caves. These hermits who lived all alone, probably some of them lived in caves. There's a story in the book where there's a secret entrance to a secret valley through a secret cave that no one can see except when the hermit wants them to see it. But it could be based on a true story of a hermit that lived in a cave thousands of years ago. The hermit is met by a king, and the hermit allows him to see the entrance to the cave and get through the cave. And in the cave, the king insinuates that he would like the secret to immortality, the secret elixir, the secret ingredients. And the hermit, or the immortal Taoist, who is also an alchemist, there's a lot of alchemy references in this book too, he is reluctant to give him the secret, but he finally gives in and gives it to him. And he tells him the strict procedure of what to do to grind up these stalactites and stalagmite pieces of the cave and grind it and mix it with this and mix it with that. The king tries to stay true to the recipe and the formula, but he probably, his body isn't used to it, or maybe he wavers and doesn't do it exactly, and he ends up getting poisoned. The immortal alchemist hermit, basically, he knew that most people can't handle the elixir of immortality. Most people, it does react like poison to them, and it's possible that could be based on a true story. Stalagmites and stalactites and caves, they naturally have great deposits of calcium and other minerals, So it is possible someone would have made an ancient elixir out of that. Not today, but in ancient times that might have been common. Why he would become sick with it, I believe it's possible there was just a lot of mold or a lot of fungus, a lot of bacteria, a lot of bad mold on the cave walls that he ground up, and he just got sick or overdose of some type of mineral that his body wasn't used to. But there are just a lot of examples of different mythologies, such as the fruit of immortality. There is an apprentice who, and these apprentices, they're apprentices for their whole lives. They're monks that dedicate their whole lives for the fruit of immortality, the elixir of immortality, for immortality in any way, shape, or form they can get it. And this monk, he talks out of turn once in his life, and he's scolded harshly by an immortal. Later down the road, when he's does everything perfect, he's eating a bowl of rice, and inside that bowl of rice is that underneath all the rice is one of the peaches of immortality, taken from the tree of immortality. And the immortal tells him previously these aren't handed out to anybody. They are carefully guarded and carefully numbered, and they are handed out only to those that are worthy. And it's just a very interesting story, very interesting stories. I give this book, from a perspective of alchemy, elixirs, mythology, and history of Eastern cultures, I would give this book 4 skulls out of 5 skulls. Very cool book, 4 out of 5. And I know I already talked about this one in a previous episode, but I didn't review it. The Rosicrucians, The History, Mythology, and Rituals of an Esoteric Order by Christopher McIntosh. And I like this book a lot. It talks most thoroughly about the Rosicrucians, their history. They started around 1500s, and mythologically wise, it could have been a hoax. Nobody knows. Some declarations were posted. It could have been an underground, very small organization. But because of the mythology around those declarations that were posted, actual secret societies were founded and organized. They had a heavy belief on Christianity mixed with alchemy, of all things, believing that they can turn lead into gold. There's an example of lead into gold supposedly in this book from rose petal, zinc, and unknown number of anonymous ingredients, which doesn't help. I do not believe you can turn lead into gold other than through the power of a sun. And if we can recreate the power of a sun, then we could recreate the process of turning lead into gold. But from a history-wise perspective, a non-occultist reading for history, for mythology, for entertainment, I give this book 4 skulls out of 5 skulls. I like this book a lot, and I'm going to keep this copy for myself. The latest book I have read is a mythology book. It's actually about folklore. It's called The Study of Folklore by Alan Dundes, a unique selection of 34 essays on folklore, what it is, how it originates, what it means, and why it is of continuing importance for an understanding of the nature of man. And has really cool symbols on the cover, and mythology, folklore, I'm into those too, and those do roughly fall into the occult category if they are presented in a certain light. And I was not a fan of this book, but only because of the types of things that I like. Now, I'm going to keep this book personally because it's not worth much. And it's a good book for reference purposes. Very encyclopedic, very mundane, tiny, tedious details. What I didn't like about this book is it's too modern. He talks about really modern folklore from the past 200 years. I thought he was going to go back thousands of years. And maybe he barely touches on 1,000-year-old mythologies, but it's mostly modern mythologies. And what we have today in our culture It's a little bit too modern for me. The stories are just very calculated, and it seems like it's a kind of a boring lecture that I had to sit through. Reading this book is like taking a course. It feels kind of like a manual for a college course. The main thing I didn't like about this book was the fact that he doesn't believe in any of the folklore, and he focuses on psychological aspect. So maybe he's a psychologist or just leans in that direction. And I understand the importance of psychology concerning folklore, but I just would have not liked to hear his opinion as much and more just the rough details of the folklore, what the people believed, what people believe now. I don't need to know his opinion on psychological aspect of why they believed it. Not so much, but it's his, it was his viewpoint, and he's definitely an educated individual. But I give this 1 skull out of 5 skulls, only one. I'm keeping it for reference purposes. It's not worth much. I think you can get this on Amazon very cheap. And those are my reviews of the occult-related books that I've read in the past 4 weeks. And so you might not see a book review episode for 4 more weeks because it might take me a while to read that many books. And now it's time for a scary ghost story. Ooh. And now it's time for a scary ghost story. Ooh. Now it's crap like that that's kind of annoying because I believe higher dimensional beings do exist. And people can call them ghosts. They can call them whatever they want. But no matter what they call them, I've personally had personal encounters with them. Now I'm going to share the ghost story. Okay, let's see. The first ghost story I can think of in my life was not with me. It was with my brother. I was about 5 years old, and my brother was frightened. We recently moved into a new house, and the house was totally empty, no furniture, nothing. And we were shown our room. I have a very good memory for a 5-year-old, and but the room was totally empty. It's very small, but from a 5-year-old's perspective, it was a decent-sized room. And I believe I had to share it with my brother. And we didn't live in that house very long. We lived in that house a very short amount of time. But this is one of the most vivid memories I have about that house. Is my brother complained on the first day we got there that our room was haunted. And it was broad daylight, and my mom said my brother was about 8 years old. He's 3 years older than me. He ran to my mom and he said, "Mommy, my room, there's something in the closet. Our room is haunted." And my mom was like, "Yeah, whatever, I think she came in and didn't see anything and left, and they were like, calm down, there's nothing there." And I remember looking at it myself. And so I went over and I said, and my brother specifically said, the hangers are moving. The hangers are moving by themselves. It's haunted. And I thought it was hilarious. As a 5-year-old, I thought my older brother, who's supposed to be, more courageous and more wise and should know that the hangers are not moving by themselves. There's no ghost. What I saw is this, and I could see it crystal clear as if I saw it back when I did see it, is when we moved in, I can't remember if the hangers were already there. I think they were. There were about 10 hangers in the closet. The door was open. The room's totally empty. Nothing, no furnishings, nothing in the entire room except for 10 hangers in the closet. And these were the old wire hangers with cardboard. And so there's about 10 wire hangers with cardboard, very close to each other. And I can't remember if I saw them moving or not. I think I might have seen them moving slightly. And I didn't think anything of it. But my brother was the one who saw it happen. So he knows more about it than I do. Now, I would say from that story, obviously he's scared of the boogeyman. Obviously he has preconceived notions that there's a scary monster in the closet. It's the same under the bed, in the closet, scary monster, yada, yada, yada. And that's what I would have believed and agreed with for most of my life. Until we're talking many years later, just a few years ago, a similar thing happened to me. I was living in a room I had just rented, and nothing happened. Nothing, everything's fine for the first month. And I'm just getting settled. All my things are in this new room I'm renting. And I noticed activity taking place in the corner of my room. For example, I had a green screen pinned to the corner of that room. And that corner is where the closet is. And the green screen pin, I saw it get pulled down right in front of my eyes. Now, I thought it was just gravity. So I pinned it up again, and it got pulled down again in front of my eyes, too hard to have been gravity. So I thought there might be something to that. And then a few days later, there were movements in my closet. Actual, visible with the lights on, movements in my closet. We're talking hangers moving by themselves, boxes moving by themselves, crazy stuff like that. Now, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm not going to reveal everything that happened when I was in that haunted room, but it was most definitely haunted by something that wanted to irritate me and annoy me. And ever since that happened, now thinking back on my brother when I was 5 years old, it's possible that the entity that was playing with the hangers only showed it to him. And when everyone else looked at it, it didn't do it. And we left, and then only he saw it happen. Now, that experience I had with the closet a few years ago, I had... I'm a full-grown adult at this time. I'm paying rent. I have a job. I have no preconceived notions about the boogeyman in the closet. Now I'm starting to believe, only based on my personal experience, that it's possible there is some type of rule or law in the universe that this corner is designated to this and this corner is designated to that. It sounds crazy, sounds insane, but I would say even feng shui, the Eastern belief, sort of corroborates that idea of a negative corner of the room, a positive corner of the room. And that's all I can say about that ghost story. I will relate more ghost stories in the future. If you have a ghost story, feel free to share. I'm interested in hearing what you have to share on your stories as well. And if you would like me to mention your story, or if one of your stories relates to mine and you give me permission, I'll be happy to put it in an episode in the future. But we're out of time, and I thank you for watching the Occult Unmasked. In future episodes, I am going to actually unmask the occult and actually expose some things. But that's just one thing I believe I'm trying to expose, is the boogeyman myth may be based on reality, as crazy as that sounds. And this has been John Razimus with the Occult Unmasked. Be seeing you.